Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I figured I'd do an updated tool list for this year because I'll be getting into a lot more of the modeling and stuff like that, painting, everything like that. I'm going to be running down some of the tools that I have and I'll be using for use when I am making 3D miniatures or 3D prints, I should say, and painting miniatures for different things like Dungeons and Dragons and 40K and everything like that. A lot of these are good ones to have. Some of them are more like if after you start collecting here. First up, we have hobby knives. These ones you can either get X-Acto knives, hobby knives. Pretty much any hobby store sells them. You're going to want at least one, but having a variety works because there are different ones of how sharp they are and like how much they go to the point. Keep the caps on them because you should be keeping them at least a little sharp. And of course, they are knives, so they are a little bit dangerous. Another device I have here, or tool I should say, is this little poker here. I'm not too sure, honestly, where I got it from, but honestly, it is amazing. I use it to unclog my paint bottles when they have when the nozzles get all clogged up and stuff like that. That is why it has paint on it. Shh, don't judge me for not cleaning it off right away. But anyway, up next here, we are going to have clippers. Clippers are, you can buy them from almost any hobby store. You're going to want at least one pair of these. They are good for taking off supports and also the sprues from different wargaming stuff and everything like that. I also use pliers here to help me get rid of the supports and everything like that. Needle nose is good for holding places in that you can't get your fingers into, like if you have to glue something in. It's very good here. I don't know what the flat ones are, honestly, but I use them. They're good for brute forcing some supports off of 3D prints. Another set of very good tools to have are files here. I have this set. I'm not too sure where I got them. I think my dad got them for me, honestly, a while back. But they come in a variety of different shapes. They are very good. I've been using these to go anything from wargaming like D&D miniatures or 40K to doing supports. They're good for getting into different areas and like that. Be very careful when you're using green stuff though. It gets clogged in the file teeth. I kind of find that out the hard way. So I'm going to have to fix those somehow. Up next here is Sandpaper. I just started using this mostly for 3D prints to get rid of the layer lines. I've been using 400 and 600 grit because those seem to work nicely and get them nice and smooth. They come in these long sheets here. I cut them down into a little bit smaller pieces. That way I can use them in little nooks and crannies or anything like that. I cut them into different sizes, but mostly about this size here. Works very well. You can just like rest it on your finger and you're able to easily do it, or roll it up a little bit and get it in to make sure all the layer lines or mold lines are gone, just to smooth it out, everything like that your knife can't do, because sometimes you gouge it out. Up next, this is my favorite kind of glue to use. It's Zappagap glue. I've been using forever. As you can see, this bottle is a little bit old and everything. Don't need this, whatever. But this is old. I am using new stuff because I was able to buy it in bulk, and that is Gorilla Super Glue. Man, this stuff is strong. Holy crap. It is. Be very careful if you have any like drops on your fingers or anything like that. Up next, we have a 2 temperature glue gun here. I use these to help either bind the prints together, or also if I have a multi-piece print and I need to fill in gaps and I don't want to use green stuff, this helps a lot to fill it in very easily and cheaply. I use these massive sticks because it is a lot more convenient to use these than those short ones that you have to constantly reload over and over again. Up next here, Up next, we have pallets. You're going to want these to be able to mix paints and everything like that. You're going to want to, probably plastic would be the best because the paint does absorb. This gray plastic I have here is literally from my mouse. So you can use anything really as long as you can mix paint on it. With that, we also want a lot of brushes. To start off, you only need 3 really: detail, normal, and a thicker one, like a bigger one, to do priming and base coating and stuff like that. But obviously, a good variety of them will give you better better control over how your miniature turns out. You don't want to leave them just laying down like that, though. You're going to want something to hold them in. So what I use here is one of these two items here. This is an old receipt roll that it was just nice thick plastic I used. It was for something else, but I ended up using it for paint. Or this, which is a Nerf gun launcher, Nerf dart launcher that broke, and I just took this because it fits them perfectly. And that way I can have them set up for detail brushes and everything like that. It also holds the knives and everything like that. So I can just have it spun. I can just spin it around whenever I need it. So I can go from brushes to knives, like needles and stuff like that. Very, very handy. Find what else works for you. Up next here, this is a bonus. This is not necessarily need, but it's very helpful. I have this old Dremel from a family member. I use it for the 3D prints. It is very handy. It helps you either smooth stuff out or fix stuff. Like if you have to cut an entire chunk out for some reason because of like a misprint, but you don't want to throw the entire print out. Very, very handy. Definitely something to invest in. Obviously not right away, but good to have. The next thing I use that you guys are going to see are playing cards here. I use them because they're handy. They're just small little pieces and they're good to do this stuff. I've done a few things with them, not on the channel, but something I can post up. I get them from a local casino, so I can just get a whole bunch of them. Might not be convenient for everyone, but very good to use as an impromptu palette, or if you need to like make something smooth, anything like that. Very good to use. The next thing here is Emery boards or nail files. They have different grit, so they're essentially sticks of sandpaper. Very good because it's a little bit harder than just the flimsy sandpaper. You can get these for a couple bucks at a dollar store or anything like that. The next item here is green stuff or neatite. It is a sculpting putty. It's a 2-part putty made out of blue and yellow side. You take the parts you want. One side makes it harden faster than the other. I don't remember which is which. I always use equal parts or as close to equal parts as I can of each of them. But you're going to see this for sculpting or like fixing little mistakes, anything like that. Very good for filling gaps. Like I said, sculpting little bits and everything like that onto a miniature. That might have been a misprint or you accidentally gouged out too much. You're going to want a sculpting tool to use with it. I have one here, this piece here that I always use. I have a proper sculpting set, but I always come back to this tool. I don't know why. It just is the best for me to use. Going to want to make sure you use water so it doesn't stick too. But you should have water on hand if you're painting anyway. These here are another bonus item here. These are miniature holders that I backed on Kickstarter years ago. I love them because of just how handy they are. There's the 2 different kinds here, the full hand one or the little one to the left. Very handy. The bars is so you can rest your hands like that so you don't get cramped or you don't actually touch the miniature. They come the bars come in a couple different sizes, so if you have like bigger hands, it's easier. If you have smaller hands, it goes a little bit closer, or for small miniatures and large miniatures. And you can just have the rest here so you don't have to let it drip or anything like that. These are very handy. They are cork based, so you're able to use pinned miniatures as well and everything like that. I would definitely recommend investing in these, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of miniature painting. It is going to save your hands from a lot of cramps in the future. Especially if you're doing like the medium-sized creatures or smaller. Large creatures not so bad, but the medium-sized or smaller, these things will definitely help you. Up next here is a syringe. This is very good if you happen to have some paint pots from a company that shall not be named that uses really stupid paint pot designs and want to transfer them into the far superior eye drop bottle. Or for what I use them for is making my own washes or adding a little bit of water to my paints to keep them from drying out too much. It's a very simple tool, but very helpful. Up next here, we have a knife sharpener. And I got this for a different project, but it's good for using on the hobby knife blades just to keep them a little bit sharp. especially if you're going to be doing a lot of mold line removal, or if you're going to be taking off a lot of supports, keep your blade sharp, and prolongs the life of them instead of you constantly going through blades. Just a little thing. It's a little weird one, but it's helpful, honestly. It's very convenient just to pack up and put it somewhere else instead of having a big block to need to sharpen knives on. Up next here is a Sharpie. This is good just for if you need to cut stuff away from a print, or if you need to fix something, you can just quickly mark it out. And the last item we have here is some painter's tape. I use very fine stuff because I usually work on littler miniatures and stuff like that. But this is good for making sure that paint doesn't bleed over. See, very thin, less than an inch. That white square there is an inch big. It's good because when you pull it up, since it is painter's tape and it's designed for this stuff, it theoretically shouldn't pull up the paint, and I've had really no problems with it so far. But those are the tools that you guys are going to be seeing in the upcoming videos. Remember, if you guys want to see all of them, hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell notification, right? And that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah. Join the Discord. That is where I'm going to be doing some hangouts while I make these art projects, painting, video, whatever you guys want to call them. But remember to follow the rest of my social media, links in the description down below, also on screen. And remember that I launched a Patreon this year, so if you guys want to directly support making these art videos, painting videos, and also influence where they're going to be going in the future with what's coming out and everything like that, remember to check that out. But I will see you guys all later. Remember, stay safe, stay healthy, stay awesome, because you guys are all awesome. Bye-bye.